Hey, I'm Zoe. Welcome back or welcome if this is your first time. Let's settle in, take a breath, because we need to have a real conversation today about what it actually takes to be recognized for your true work. All right. I want to speak directly to the women who are doing everything right. You're intelligent, you're capable, you have the experience and the track record. That flawless execution, that's you. You work incredibly hard, and you're the one your team, your family, and your friends rely on when things need to get done. You're the one who catches the details everyone else misses. You're the one who stays late to ensure the project is perfect, or the one who manages the emotional temperature of your household so perfectly that no one even realizes the effort that it takes. And yet, despite all of your competence, despite all of your success, you still feel invisible when it comes to true authority. You sit in meetings and your ideas are talked over only to be repeated by somebody else 5 minutes later and they get praised for being brilliant, right? You negotiate your salary, your rates, or even your boundaries in a relationship, and then you find yourself constantly having to justify your own work. You step into leadership roles, whether in the office, a creative project, or in your community, but then you feel like you're constantly managing everyone else's feelings instead of actually leading the vision. You're highly capable, but you are not perceived as powerful. And it's really exhausting, right? I know it is. To know how much value you bring to the table and to feel like you constantly have to prove it. To feel like you're running on a treadmill of competence, hoping that one day someone will finally look up and hand you the respect and the authority that you have so clearly earned. Here is the hard truth, girlfriend. Being capable doesn't automatically create authority. Competence is not the same as power. We're raised with this very linear idea that if we just work hard enough, if we just get enough qualifications, if we're just good girls who do our jobs perfectly and never make a mistake, then leadership and respect will naturally be handed to us. And we believe that. We believe our work will speak for itself, right? We believe that, if we just put our heads down and produce excellence, the world is going to reward us. But your work does not speak for itself. You speak for your work. And how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you manage your energy, that's what's going to determine whether people see you as someone to utilize or someone to revere. Now, the reason you feel invisible is not because you are not smart enough or capable enough. That's not it. It's because unconsciously you're leaking your power. You're giving your authority away in 100 tiny little invisible ways every single day. Let's look at how this happens, okay? Let's look at the habits that's stripping you of your authority. Now, the first and probably the most common is over explaining. When a woman doesn't feel secure in her power, she feels the need to justify every decision, every request, every boundary. If you need to push back a deadline at work, you give a 5 minute monologue about the vendor delays, and then the software bugs, and your current bandwidth. If you decline a social invitation, you write a 3 paragraph text message apologizing and detailing your calendar conflict. Listen, when you over explain, you're subtly asking for permission. You are saying to the other person, please validate my choice. Please tell me it's okay that I made this call. Please don't be mad at me for having a boundary. Let me tell you something that my mother told me. She said, no is a complete sentence. That means you don't have to give nothing else after you said no. You don't have to give nothing else after you decline the invitation. You don't have to give nothing else but the thing gonna be delayed. And I'll have it for you this date and time. That's it. Now, I want you to think about a truly powerful person that you admire. You can think of a visionary leader or a woman who commands absolute respect the moment she walks into a room. Do they offer unprompted paragraphs of justification for their choices? No. They don't. A powerful woman does not over explain. She states her decisions, her directives, or her boundaries clearly and concisely. We are pushing the launch to quarter 3 to ensure quality. I won't be able to make it this weekend, but I hope you have a wonderful time. Period. The sentence ends there. My mama knew what she was talking about. But there is immense power in brevity. When you stop filling the silence with justifications, people are going to start trusting your judgment. They stop looking for holes in your argument and then they start accepting your word as final. Over explaining invites negotiation. A clear statement commands respect. That's the difference. Now, this leads directly into the second habit, apologizing for your existence. How many times a day do you type, I'm sorry, in an email or say it in a conversation? I'm sorry to bother you. I'm sorry, but I have a question. I'm sorry, can I just add something? I'm sorry it took me an hour to reply to this non urgent email. You're apologizing for taking up space. You're apologizing for having a voice. You're apologizing for doing your job or simply existing in the room. Now, every time you say I'm sorry when you haven't actually made a mistake, you chip away at your own authority. You signal to the room that you view yourself as a subordinate. You train people to view you as someone who is constantly in debt to them, someone who's always slightly in the wrong. Now, instead of apologizing, let's practice gratitude or simple assertion. Instead of, I'm sorry to bother you, try, do you have a moment? Instead of, I'm sorry I'm late, try, thank you for your patience, let's begin. Instead of, I'm sorry, I think we should try this, say, I recommend we take this approach. Protect your apologies for when you have genuinely made an error. An apology from a powerful woman is very meaningful because it's rare, right? And it's sincere. So don't use apologies as a conversational buffer to make other people feel, more comfortable with your presence. If they're uncomfortable, that's literally their problem. Now, the third way that you could be leaking power is by physically and energetically shrinking. What do I mean by that? So, we talked about body language in our conversation on presence, but it applies deeply to power as well. When you're in a room with strong personalities, do you make yourself smaller? Do you fold your hands tightly in your lap? Do you often soften your voice so as to not seem aggressive? Which that word really bothers me, right? Because it has a certain stigmatism to it, especially for a particular group of women. If you know, you know. Okay, sorry about that. My little doll face was FaceTiming me. Now, maybe if you don't do the voice thing, but maybe you end your statements with an upward inflection, turning your expertise into a question. Which, if one of those are you, let me know in the comments. Women are deeply conditioned to be accommodating, right? We're taught very young that to be powerful is to be threatening. And so we soften our edges to make sure that we're still likable. We want to be seen as collaborative, as a team player, as easy to work with. So we smile constantly, even when we are delivering serious news, because we don't want anyone to feel intimidated. But you cannot prioritize being universally liked over being respected. Not if you want to be powerful, okay? You got to be willing to hold your ground. You have to be willing to sit comfortably in your own authority, even if it makes someone else slightly uncomfortable. Now, imagine you are delivering a presentation or stating a requirement. If you physically lean away from the table, cross your arms, and pitch your voice up, you're telling your audience that you don't fully believe what you're saying yourself. I want you to stop shrinking to fit into rooms that you are meant to lead. Plant those feet, drop those shoulders, speak from your diaphragm, and let your physical form match the weight of your intellect. So, when you do speak, you speak with a downward inflection. Make statements, not suggestions. The fourth habit is underpricing and undervaluing your contributions. This happens constantly in salary negotiations, when pitching for new business, and even in personal relationships. You offer discounts before the client even asks, simply because you sense a little hesitation. If you accept the first offer because you don't want to seem difficult, you take on that emotional labor and the administrative housework of your life without ever asking your needs to be met in return. Underpricing yourself is really a symptom of a deeper belief that your value is not inherent. It's the belief that you have to bargain for your worth. It's the fear that if you ask for what you actually deserve, the other person will walk away. But listen, a woman in her power knows her value, and she does not negotiate it down just to make someone else comfortable. She states her price, whether that's a financial price or the price of access to her time and energy, because that does cost, and she lets the other person decide if they can afford it. If they can't, she doesn't lower the price. She simply finds a different buyer. She understands that discounting her worth does not make her more appealing, it simply makes her cheap. Now, think about luxury. A luxury brand does not go on sale because a customer complains about the price. The price is the price because the quality is undeniable. You gotta begin to treat your energy, your expertise, and your time as a luxury commodity. And then finally, the most critical area where women lose their power, weak boundaries. Let's get into it. You cannot be respected if you're accessible to everyone. And I mean everybody all the time. If you say yes to every request, if your answer um, to emails at midnight is yes, even if just you answering the emails at midnight, like if you allow people to speak to you disrespectfully without consequence, then you have no boundary. And a kingdom without borders is not a kingdom, it's a public park. Okay? We often think that by being endlessly accommodating, that we're proving our value. We think if I'm always available, they'll see how dedicated I am. They'll see how much they need me. But human psychology does not work that way. People do not respect what's constantly and freely available. They respect what requires effort to access. They respect what has limits. Boundaries are not walls, they are the parameters of your self respect. What they teach is they teach people how to treat you. And when you enforce a boundary, I'm offline after 6 p.m., or I can't take that on right now, or I'm not going to engage in that conversation when voices are raised. You're not being mean, you are being clear. And clarity is the ultimate form of power. If you recognize yourself in any of these behaviors, the over explaining, the apology, and the shrinking, the underpricing, the weak boundaries, I want you to take a deep breath. Girl, be very gentle with yourself, okay? You gotta be gentle with yourself because you were taught to behave this way. Society trained you to be accommodating rather than authoritative. You were rewarded for being the good girl, the helpful assistant, the one who never caused the fuss. But you don't have to stay that way. The skills that got you to this level of competence are not the skills that's going to take you to the next level of leadership. Because here's the most important thing that I want you to take away from this video. Power isn't a personality type. You don't have to be an aggressive extrovert to be powerful. You don't need to change your core nature or become someone that you're not. You don't even need to adopt masculine traits to be taken seriously. Power is something you practice. It's a series of micro decisions you make every single day. It's the decision to pause before you speak instead of rushing to fill in that silence. It's the decision to delete the I'm just following up from the beginning of your email. It's the decision to really hold eye contact when you state your worth. Authority is built in the quiet moments of self correction. It's a muscle that you get to build over time. Okay? I want you to give this practice uh, a try this week. I was about to say something different, but scratch that. The next time you feel the urge to justify a decision, I want you to stop at the period. State your choice and then let the silence sit. It's going to feel really uncomfortable at first because your instinct is going to scream at you to fill in that gap, to soften the blow, to make sure the other person isn't upset with you. But let that silence sit. Breathe through the discomfort and then watch what happens. You will be amazed at how quickly people adjust to your new standard of communication. When you stop rushing to make everybody else feel comfortable, they're going to be forced to step up and meet you at your level. Now, another practice that I want you to adopt is the audit of your apologies. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but for the next 3 days, I want you to track every single time you say, I'm sorry. Write it down, look at the list, and then at the end of the day, I want you to ask yourself, okay, did I actually make a mistake that warranted an apology, or was I just apologizing for taking up space? Now, once you become aware of the habit, you can begin to dismantle it. That's the beauty of this, right? And just like building any muscle, you need a system. You need an environment that supports your growth, and you need the right tools to train with. You can't simply watch a video on power and then expect your entire life to change. Ridiculous. Okay? It's like Kiki Palmer. I might sound ridiculous. Yes, you do. You have to do the work. You have to reprogram. My perimenopausal brain just took over. What was I talking about? Oh, you got to reprogram the deeply ingrained habits that's keeping you small. Okay? You got to be willing to tolerate that temporary discomfort of changing your behavior in order to receive the permanent of and reward of true authority. And so this is the work that we do inside of House of Zokai Finishing Academy. This is not just a place about and where we come to look elegant, right? But it's also about being a powerful force in your life. It's about that untangling the conditioning that tells you to shrink and replacing it with the solid, unshakable foundation of true authority. So, inside of my academy, we're going to deep dive into psychology of power, the communication strategies of women who really lead, and then the energetic boundaries that protect your peace and command respect all at the same time. When we take these concepts and then we turn them into daily practices, we role play the difficult conversations, we practice the pregnant pause, we build the muscle of your authority together in a community with other women who are also rising to their highest selves. So you're not going to be doing this alone, right? Now, if you're tired of being the hardest working, most invisible woman in the room, then continue doing what you're doing. But if you're ready to command the respect, the compensation, and the authority that your competence really truly deserve, then I invite you to step into the academy. The link is going to be in the description below. Because it's really time to stop waiting for somebody to hand you over your own authority. It's time to practice your power and claim that for yourself. Now, I want to thank you for being here with me today. Okay, start practicing right now. Right now. Watch your apologies, hold your boundaries, and then own your space. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, step into your power. All right, and I will see you next time. Ciao.